Can I just ask you about the ME work then? And also, what's your vision for FMT and longevity? Do you think we might be, I mean, Kim Kardashian to one side, because people have for a while now done these, they've tried to have blood transfusions from younger people. There's companies that have tried to do this, right? You've probably heard of it. And if you've got enough money, you can kind of, in this day and age, try anything.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm surprised that there's not more of a demand for...
But let me put it this way. Don't you think it makes perfect sense? Because we've been talking now about the microbiome being essential for health. If that gets messed up, maybe it's not surprising we are going to get sick. And aging, if you look at it context of a disease, then the implication of that is treatable. And where would you want to start the treatment?
Aging's a disease. Yeah.
Is it? Is it a disease?
I think it could be a disease, yeah.
So
I think it could be
microbiome essential for this. We know it deteriorates in parallel with aging. So, if we change the microbiome, could we at least slow the progression? Benefit is we stop it. But anyway, we can slow that trajectory. And that has a big impact on whether or not you develop neurodegenerative diseases in old age. We haven't talked about Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, which we're interested in as well. So, you could put the brakes on not just declining health in old age, keeping people fitter and more active for longer, could have an impact on these really severe, debilitating dementias. And, my work on ME is related because they have significant cognitive deficits, GI issues.
For the listener, can we just provide a little bit of background on?
So we're talking about Myalgia Encephalomyelitis. The common name is chronic fatigue syndrome, for which there's no cure, there's no effective treatment, and the number of patients is really underestimated because it can take patients years to get a diagnosis. And there is, I think, a bit of a ticking time bomb here because with long COVID, I suspect a significant proportion of those patients will develop ME. So the numbers of affected patients are only going to get better. And so few of them make a full recovery. And the more severe forms, patients are bedbound, housebound, incredible sensitivity to light, sound. So these people are in desperate need of new treatments. And we're fortunate in working with a charity called Invest in ME Research, which is funding research at the Quadram to develop a centre of excellence for ME. They've supported with the university PhD studentships. They're funding an FMT trial in ME, which will hopefully happen later this year. So we're looking at trying new interventions, but not trying to uncover what the root cause of ME are and develop new interventions to treat ME.
Your thinking is that if you instill a healthy ecosystem, you drive processes in a different direction to what might be contributing to the disease?
Yeah, so the disease has long associations with virus infections, and it was first thought to be a variant of polio.
Really?
Infection.
That's the history. That's fascinating.
It goes all the way back to sort of, this is just another form of polio.
But also it gives you some indication as to how terrible this is.
Absolutely, yeah.
If that's what in the early days people were thinking, right? That's how bad it is. Yeah. So for the really severe cases, can patients actually leave home?
No, they can't even leave their bed.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's a darkened room. They're sensitive to light and sound. So just the touching their skin. I mean, we've seen some of these patients, and we tried to recruit them to some of our studies. And, it's just a horrible, horrible existence.
That's just really, really bad, and there's nothing available.
No. So they were originally described in outbreaks in places like Iceland, America, in the UK. But the exact trigger's not been identified. There have been links to herpes virus, Epstein-Barr virus, polio virus, as I said. Yeah. So we believe that viruses are probably a trigger, but in fact they're not acquired. They could be from what's normally part of your virome that makes up your gut microbiome. Some patients, they get a bloom or an outbreak of these viruses, which can trigger symptoms of ME. And if it's not treated, the virus is eliminated. It's a chronic exposure. So we believe that treating the microbiome might be an effective means of treating ME. And FMT is probably the more radical approach. Right. It will replace what's there with a healthy microbiome. Yes. So the FMT trial we're proposing to do is important. And it's based on case studies carried out in Australia where particular individual has been using FMT to treat his patients very successfully, apparently. So we're going to want to take a clinical trial, placebo-controlled,
Gold standard.
randomized, the gold standard.
Yep.
And this will say FMT could be safe and effective treatment for ME, which should be huge
Transformational.
for patients.
Transformational for patients.
Huge.
And have you found that there's been already quite significant patient demand?
Yes. So
they've probably, my experience, I mean, you're describing something which is just, I can't even imagine. I can't actually imagine it 'cause I'm so active and love being outside. But, you know, in my experience, patients do a lot of research. So they probably have read the case reports that you're talking about and want to find an FMT.
Yes.
Right.
So I gave an interview on BBC4 Radio Today program 2 weeks ago, and I must have had 70, 80 emails from patients desperate to sign up.
I believe it. I believe it.
And they're still coming in. I looked at my emails today, and I've got half a dozen patients wanting to know more about signing up for the trial.
We need to help these people.
Absolutely.
We need to help these people.
So we're fortunate in the part of the country where we are that there is the chronic fatigue centre based in Lowestoft where they treat a large number of patients. So they will be our recruiting centre.
Yeah.
And they have over 1,000 patients registered with them, and they already have over 200 patients on the waiting list for the trial. So I don't think recruitment is going to be an issue for us. There are patients desperate.
Yeah, I believe it.
Desperate.
Well, all the very best with all of that.
Thank you.
I'm really excited, actually, to see what happens.